Some stories don't begin with a greeting, they begin with the disappearance. Not the dramatic kind, not the slammed door, the final speech, the tearful goodbye, but the quiet kind. The kind where someone slips out of a moment so gently you only notice they are gone when the noise settles, and the empty space whispers their name. No announcement, no farewell, just a soft vanishing as if the night itself opened a door only they could see. People call it the Irish goodbye, but it's more than a habit. It is a personality, a philosophy, a silent art of leaving the world without disturbing its music. To understand it, picture this: a crowded room, warm lights, laughter bubbling like an old song that everyone knows by heart. A gathering where stories stretch into the night and time feels unhurried. But somewhere in that room, someone is already halfway toward the exit. Not out of boredom, not out of rudeness, but out of a quiet instinct. It's time. No long farewells, no last round speeches, just a gentle retreat into the evening air. That is the Irish goodbye, leaving without ceremony, without spotlight, without the pressure of finality. It is disappearing with dignity. Part 1. Why some goodbyes are never spoken. Some people carry the world softly, they feel deeply, they observe quietly, and endings strike them harder than most. Most goodbyes to them feel too heavy, too dramatic, too final. So they chose silence, not because they don't care, but because they care too much. Lingering makes the moment ache. Drawing attention feels unnatural, and explaining their exit feels like putting a label on something that was meant to say something simple, that was meant to stay simple. So they slip away, the way a breath leaves the body, gently, quietly, naturally. Part 2. The rumored origins. Some say this tradition began long ago in the days when people left their homeland with only a suitcase and a promise to write back. Many never did, not because they forgot, but because distance makes goodbyes unbearably real. Others say the Irish goodbye grew from the culture of gatherings, where farewells could take an hour, then another hour at the door, then one more on the doorstep. Leaving quietly simply became a practical solution. But perhaps the real origin is emotional, not historical. Maybe Irish goodbyes exist because some hearts prefer to leave a moment untouched rather than end it with a performance. Part 3. The psychology of quiet departures. There is an entire emotional language behind slipping out without a farewell. For the introverted, it's protection, a shield from the weight of attention. For the anxious, it's mercy, avoiding the small talk of explanations. For the nostalgic, it's preservation, leaving the moment exactly as it was instead of adding a bittersweet full stop. And for the gentle-hearted, it's a form of love, choosing not to interrupt the laughter, the flow, the beauty of a moment that doesn't need a final word to be complete. Some exist to speak and some exist to not speak. And some exits speak louder than arrivals, and sometimes silence is the most honest language we have. Part 4. A story to remember. Let me tell you a story, a simple one, the kind that lingers quietly like the footsteps of someone who has just left. There was a man named Declan, soft-spoken, thoughtful, with a heart that felt the world in deep, slow waves. He loved gatherings, he loved his friends, but he was never good at goodbyes. One evening at an old community hall, the kind with creaking floors and warm yellow lights, his friends gathered to celebrate a milestone. The night was full of music, stories, shared memories that glowed like embers. And then, as the hours thinned and the edges of the room grew softer, Declan felt it. That familiar inner tug. This moment is perfect. Leave it this way. So he stepped outside, no announcement, no explanation, just the quiet click of the door behind him and the cool night air waiting like an old friend. In the morning, someone laughed. Ah, Declan pulled another Irish goodbye. But they didn't say it with annoyance. They said it with affection because they understood, and sometimes understanding someone's silence is the purest kind of love. Part 5. When silence becomes a gift. Leaving quietly is not always avoidance. Sometimes it's generosity. You leave before you fade, before your energy dips, before the moment loses its shine. You leave while the memory is still warm and golden. There is a strange kind of respect in that, preserving the beauty of a moment by not overstaying inside it. An Irish goodbye says, I was here, I felt this, and I want to remember it just like this. Part 6. A universal experience. Even though we call it Irish, everyone has lived it. The friend who slips out before the music stops, a person who leaves a party to walk alone under the moon, the one who vanishes from a gathering, no, not out of coldness but out of quiet truth. They gave all the presents they had, and that was enough. We have all been that person or loved that person or needed that space ourselves. Because living quietly is part of being human. So, what do we learn from this? The Irish goodbye teaches us something profound. Not every exit needs noise. Not every ending needs a speech. Not every moment of departure needs to be wrapped in a dramatic bow. Sometimes you're allowed to leave just because your heart says it's time. And sometimes you're allowed to accept someone's quiet exit without feeling abandoned. Some people love loudly, others love quietly. Both kinds of love are real. Both kinds are honest. So, the next time someone disappears from a room without saying a goodbye, don't rush to judgment. Don't assume distance. Don't assume disregard. Maybe they left to protect their peace. Maybe they left to preserve the moment. Maybe they left because goodbye felt heavier than saying. And if you are the one who leaves quietly, know this. There is nothing wrong with slipping out softly. Nothing wrong with guarding your energy. Nothing wrong with choosing peace over performance. Some exits echoes without sound, some departures carry no words. And in that soft silence lives the Irish goodbye, the most humble, the most human, most poetic exit of them all. So children, if you have understood this lesson, please subscribe to my channel, like and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching and comment below your thoughts.